Hello and good day. This is Punchline. We are First News Nation. I am Sammy Ajufo. Thank you for joining us. We want to appreciate all of you who has followed us on our social media handles, Facebook, X, Instagram, YouTube at First News Nation. For those of you who really love us enough to go to your social media handles, any of those platforms I just mentioned, to enable notifications on all of them to get the latest updates on all our shows. Very interesting at First News Nation. And don't forget, we're also putting this on our online radio, News Nation FM. Great news, get set, because in a few weeks, we'll be launching on DSTV and GoTV. You could watch us on Afia TV channel 254 and GoTV channel 17. Really excited. More channels will come your way. I'm very certain you would also see us on Star Times at Rapid TV. Just get ready. It's going to be really awesome. You could be watching episodes of Punchline every week. Let's go for a short break. We're talking about the merger proposition by the PDP presidential candidate in the just concluded February 25th presidential election. We'll be right back. Thanks for joining us. I'm still Sammy Ajufo. This is still Punchline. I would like to remind those of you who didn't listen the first time that very soon we'll be on Afia TV on DSTV and GoTV. Afia TV on DSTV channel 254, GoTV channel 17, where you could be watching episodes of Punchline. You could also get ready. We'll be on Rapid TV, Wuma here on Star Times. But the conversation now is following the Supreme Court ruling, what will the opposition parties do now that the Supreme Court have given a stamp of approval to President Bola Tinubu to hold on to the reins of power as president of Nigeria for the next 4 years, terminating in 2027? What will the remaining political parties who contested the presidential election, parties namely PDP, the Labour Party, the NNPP, the SDP, the Action Alliance, and all those parties, what's the next step for them? PDP had come out in the press conference to say they are now in the opposition. Atiku Abubakar came out in the press conference and said, well, the court disappointed us even with the amount of evidence we presented. Just recently, the former vice president of Nigeria, PDP presidential candidate for 2019 and 2023 elections, Atiku Abubakar, had in a public forum where he hosted the Inter-Party Advisory Council, IPAC, he said, it's time for the opposition parties to come together and unite for 2027. Now, there are two things now. We see Peter Obi of Labour Party saying that the Labour Party is now in opposition. And now PDP is saying, through their presidential candidate, it's time for opposition parties to merge. If you look at the scale and the statistics of the winnings in the presidential election, they were basically the APC, the PDP, the Labour Party. NNPP came very distant fourth among other parties you saw there. So who are the leading 3 or 4 parties that will be contesting the election come 2027? And were these 3 what Atiku Abubakar was referring to as the opposition parties? Many people would disagree and say there are only 2 opposition parties, the Labour Party and the PDP. Now, who came second, who came third? It's a subject for another day. It's not about who came second or who came third. It's about are these parties strong enough to remain as opposition for the next 4 years? Well, Atiku had proposed this union, and then he had accused APC of turning Nigeria into a one-party state. And this is the same thing Labour Party had also re-echoed, that the APC is turning Nigeria into a one-party state, forgetting the fact that in history, we remember that PDP also was virtually turning Nigeria into a one-party state up until 2007, when we had the ACN come out to contest. We had also the NNPP, where the former president, talking about Muhammadu Buhari, had also vied for president under the CPC and the NNPP. But could you call those parties at that time viable parties? PDP was the most predominant party, Among all the 36 states of Nigeria, ACN held on to one state, and that was Lagos. You will remember that ACN, first you had the AC through Bola Tinubu. He stayed for 8 years, and then the ACN under Raji Fashola, he stayed his 8 years. And then in Edo State, we had ACN under Adams Oshiomhole. You remember Adams Oshiomhole first started as a Labour Party governor, and then he moved to ACN. ACN started expanding from there. So you could count from 1999 all the way to the period 2007 that a PDP was the one-party state party. But now Atiku Abubakar is saying that APC is turning Nigeria back into a one-party state. Now, should this alliance be considered? Because the spokespeople for both NNPP and Labour Party have not said they will not outrightly, even though Labour Party, speaking from maybe both sides of their mouth, are saying, look, it was just a proposition, nothing has been put on the table. If the table was actually convened, will the Labour Party sit on that table? Will the NNPP sit on that table? Will the PDP in its entirety sit on that table, considering the fact that all three opposition parties have major leadership issues, internal wrangling? Let's take it back. In PDP, we still don't have a national chairman. We have an acting national chairman. The national chairman position had become a very toxic relationship that made the G5 governors come out. In the Labour Party, it's been a tussle between Lamidi Apapa and Julius Abure. In the NNPP, even the presidential candidate for the NNPP, Senator Rabi Musa Kwankwaso, former governor of Kano State, was kicked out of the party by some elements. So the three opposition parties have major issues. With those issues, do you think they can form a formidable alliance? NNPP and the PDP form a merger, or should they form an alliance? Considering the fact that all of these parties have internal issues as we speak. As a matter of fact, Labour Party has lost, not Labour Party, NNPP has lost critical seats in the House of Representatives, as well as Labour Party losing the deputy chief whip, of seat in the National Assembly. That has gone to the PDP. So if they solve all the issues, or if these parties are not used by the candidates as a means to hold on to something to fight for, because you really don't know if these parties, the Labour Party, the PDP, and the NNPP, are just tools in the hands of the presidential candidates to use for some bargaining chip or whatever. But now everyone is plotting their graph towards 2027, knowing that the Supreme Court has already ruled for 2023. Now, as we look at it today, PDP is making a proposition through their presidential candidate. Labour Party, in different quarters, have said, well, it's not a formal proposition. Yet Labour Party has also said it's not a bad proposition. If it is brought to the table, they most likely will consider it. Labour Party has been back and forth with whether they're going to merge or they're not going to merge. The conversation, you remember, during the campaigns was, is Labour Party going to merge with NNPP? Now it looks more likely that the Labour Party might be looking at a merger with PDP. But will this be a merger or will it be an alliance? You do remember that for the 2015 elections, we had the conglomeration of the ACN, the CPC, the ABGA, ANPP, and the sprinkling of the new PDP. Is this what is going to happen in 2027? Will there be a merger with Labour Party, PDP, and maybe NNPP, maybe a sprinkling of a few? They'll probably form an acronym, PLPD, something, that kind of stuff. So is that what we're looking at? Or what happens to the presidential candidates at that point in the year 2027? NNPP has said they will agree to a merger. This is from one of their chieftains. They will agree to a merger if Atiku Abubakar of the PDP agrees to support Rabi Musa Kwankwaso in 2027 for president. There are many things around that. That the APC had zoned the presidency to the south. It was not for 4 years. We believe it was for 8 years. That the APC would allow any other political party to take over power from 2027. So if Rabi Musa Kwankwaso is contesting for president in 2027, that is going to damage the Southern Agreement of running 8 years, just like the North has done 8 years. The South is running their first 4 years, and the next 4 years will definitely be in the race for the South. Now, do you even think that members of the PDP will agree for it to change to the North, because it distorts the entire arrangement? Well, I don't know who wrote this rule about rotation. It started from PDP. APC has adopted it, but what will go on as we go forward? Let's go for a break. We'll come back. We'll talk more. Welcome back. It's still Punchline. We're still talking about the same thing. Atiku Abubakar making a proposition saying that the opposition parties should unite. Unite or merge? Is any of those words? Should they form an alliance? And the opposition parties being the PDP, the Labour Party, NNPP, and any other party that was strong enough in 2027. How are we sure that another mega party will not show up in 2027? Well, it's still the conversation, because NNPP believes that single-handedly Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso can contest to win in 2027, even though his winnings were mostly in Kano State, and he did not so well in the presidential election on the 25th of February 2023. Atiku Abubakar, another question is, will he contest again in 2027? Is he going to retire? That's another question. Is PDP weak? Is Atiku Abubakar saying there should be a union because he feels that PDP is weak? That's another question. Do they still have the weight to push in 2027? Will they still be united in 2027? Don't forget, they're still in some Wike in that party for now. So is Atiku Abubakar making this proposition knowing that, or thinking that his party would not be strong enough to push on his own? Or does Atiku believe that there was some kind of mistake in 2023? There should have been a merger between PDP and the Labour Party, who are the two strongest parties in the opposition. So we're still looking at this. Is Labour strong enough? After what happened with the Supreme Court, a lot of Labour Party obedience lost faith. Do you think that faith will be rekindled again in 2027? Do you think they'll be around? Will obedience still around? Obedience, will they still be around in 2027? That's another question we need to ask. Let's not forget the off-season elections that just happened in Kogi, Imo, and Bayelsa State, and many of the obedience were not even interested in what happened in the elections. Do you think they will still garner the same verve, the same fire in the year 2027? And if Peter Obi agrees and the Labour Party agrees to a merger with the PDP, will the obedience agree to join with a party that they had no interest in joining in the first place? Will obedience follow a merger with that? It's another question. There are many questions. PDP, Labour Party, NNPP zoning the presidency. Will they zone it to the North or to the South? Knowing that in the South is just having its first 4 years. And does it mean that if the three of them come together, will they zone it to the North? That means the South has just one tenure. So there's going to be a lot of politicking going forward. But what I see from where I sit is that the entire Southern region will want a second tenure. And except Bola Tinubu is not well enough to continue as president, likely what we're going to see is that Tinubu will continue as president for the next 4 years, from 2027 to 2031. Will the North support Tinubu? Most likely, because we believe in 2031, the North will be standing by to field their candidate, maybe from the PDP, maybe from the Labour, maybe and most likely from the APC. So they are waiting in the wings. If the APC is still united by 2031, the North will always obviously be waiting to receive the presidency from Bola Tinubu to run their 8 years from 2031 going forward. And if that happens, if that will be the calculation, which is most likely it, then the North will definitely support a Southern candidate in Bola Tinubu to complete this 8 years of 2023 to 2031. PDP, Labour Party, NNPP all have leadership crisis. But I want you to put this down in the comment section as we close. Which of the opposition parties do you think is structured? The PDP, the Labour Party, or the NNPP? Which of them is still structured? Let's add the APC, because the APC looks like it's more structured, more united right now. The APC has won in Kogi State, as declared by INEC. The APC has won in Imo State, as declared by INEC. The PDP was a no-brainer. The APC were having issues in Bayelsa State. So PDP naturally took over. Don't forget, we have elections coming up in Ondo State. We have elections coming up in Osun State. We have elections coming up in Edo State. So those elections, as well as Anambra State. So what will happen? Will this also be a defining factor? Will it be about the candidates that these people filled? Or before then, will there be some kind of alliance to wrest power from APC in the year 2027, 2026, or going forward? We're going to watch and see how that pans out. It's going to be really interesting. Atiku Abubakar making that proposition. Will Peter Obi agree? Will the Labour Party agree? Will the Obedience agree? Will the NNPP agree? Let's watch and see how that goes. Let's just pray all the parties are still around by 2027. I'm Sammy Ajufo. Thank you for joining us. Don't forget to like and subscribe to all our social media handles, just the way you see here. Enable notifications on all those platforms, so every time a new program comes up, you're the first to know. Once again, we'd like to congratulate ourselves on the few weeks that will be coming up, where we will be launching on DSTV channel 254 and GoTV channel 17 on Afia Television. We'll also be on Rapid TV, Umahia on Star Times. Pick any of your choice. Go ahead and watch our programs, and you will enjoy the very best of political conversations here on Punchline. On behalf of my producers, I'm Sammy Ajufo. Do all your best to stay safe.